Hello and welcome to Vectura X8 and Parameters. I am Inside Service Technician Jacob Wolf, and I'll be your instructor today. By switching on the power supply of the system via the main switch on the control cabinet, the supply voltage for the frequency converters is provided and the PLC boots. Booting the PLC may take several minutes. Boot process is completed when the display of the PB500 X8 is set to the standard display. Here you'll see your home page. If the on button is pressed, the following display appears in the main menu instead of the standard view. You get a please wait. This is the PLC sending instructions to the inverters and all such as that. Once it is done, it'll take it back to the home screen. Switch off process. System can be switched off at any time via the off button. Display does not change. Green indicator light goes out. Emergency stop. When an e-stop button is pressed, the entire system stops immediately. Frequency converter is placed in a safe stop. STO will be displayed on the inverters. And you also have an active alarm on your alarms page. Basic structure of the page. Operations is via the touch panel of PP500 or X8. Individual areas in the menu can be accessed by selecting individual buttons. Basic page structure as follows. Top left, you have your user level, what you're currently signed in as. Top middle, the current page you're on. Top right, your date and time. You got your menu slash tiles in the middle, your message bar down on the bottom, your switch off acoustics button. So when the alarm is going off, you can hit that to silence it. Bottom left, user administration, where you can change languages or sign in. The K button, that's your home button or back. And the last button in the bottom right, your notifications, pull up your active messages. User administration, you can select a language or sign in to the applicable level that you need to be. Change the language, you select the language and then select the correct language that you'll need. Have your different user level, user, technician, KG technician, and admin. User is just for operator. Technician, KG technician are used for maintenance. Administrators mainly for programming. This is what your messages page will look like. If you have active messages, you'll have them all in red. You can acknowledge them with the button on the right. It'll either clear it or turn it yellow. If it's not ready to be cleared, you have a history button along with a silence alarm button. You also have access to the System Diagnostics Manager through the screen. This is a way to view the PLC to see if the CPU of the PLC is seeing the inputs and outputs. Now roll in as parameters, general configuration parameters. This will be under management and configuration. Important ones, number of folding machines, how many folding machines are going to be attached to this Vectura line, quantity belts, how many belts are in the system, quantity SBUs, how many SBUs, roller tracks, if you have any, storage lines, if you have any. And we'll roll into folding machine parameters. The parameters for the folding machines are divided in two sections. You have the general settings and then the parameters for the stacker. Under the general, first you start with your machine ID there at the top. This is where, based on the Vectura layout, if you look at the beginning of your schematic where it shows the layout of the Vectura, you see folding machine 1, folding machine 2, folding machine 3, however many you have. You have to make sure you select the correct machine ID here in the top middle, so you are adjusting for the correct machine. So if it's set to machine ID 1, you'll be making adjustments for folding machine 1. So your machine type, has options between 0 through 3, selects what kind of machine it is. There should be a little description in the bottom of the page when you're looking over this. Number of stackers, how many stackers you have, stacker type, 0, 1, lifting your SPU, the following e-stop, which e-stop string is the machine, which e-stop string of the Vectura is the machine talking to. And then time monitoring belt occupied, folding machine sends a request to the Vectura how long it waits. Folding machine parameters for stackers. So here you have machine ID. So if you're working on folding machine 1, you want 1, and then stacker ID, which stacker you have. Parameters are valid for the individual stackers. Numbering of the stackers in the Vectura is the same as that of the stacker number on the actual folding machine. So stacker ID 1 is stacker 1, stacker ID 2 is stacker 2 to the machine. Target type determines the Vectura module type to which the stacker is coupled. Either 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, should be more of a description in the bottom when you're looking at this. Target module determines the module index of the module which stacker is coupled. Target interface determines the index of the entry point to which a stacker is coupled. Get more to that later for your SPUs. And then on that bottom of the page, you will have information. This is live information that is being passed to the Vectura from the folding machine. So you can come to this page and see what it is actually showing for program customer batch machine number that the Vectura received. Configuration for your belts. Parameters of the belts are defined in 3 areas. Parameters generally valid, general, individual parameters for the in transfer point, and then individual for the out transfer points. We'll get more to that later. In transfer is for your SPUs, out transfer is for your pushers. Under general, first things first, belt ID. Here, if you have a long Vectura system, you're going to have multiple belts. You have to make sure that you are making changes to the correct belt. Then you look at your Vectura overlay, you'll see GF1, GF2, GF3. That's conveyor 1, conveyor 2, conveyor 3. So make sure the belt ID is set correct for the belt you want to be working on belt 1. First is power link address. This is the address of that inverter for that conveyor. If this is not set correctly, the PLC will not be able to talk to it. And you get this address from your Vectura cabinet schematics there at the front, where it shows what the addresses should be for each conveyor. Put that in, length of the belt. This is length of the actual belt from end to end. If that's not set correctly, then you could have some issues with stacks not going properly. Follow-up time, the belt continues to run after leaving last stack from the belt. Max quantity, the maximum number of stacks that can be conveyed simultaneously. E-stop circuit, which E-stop string of the Vectura is this belt attached to. And belt end monitoring 1 through 5 are no longer being used. Belt end length defines an area that is parameterized length in millimeter. It's just for the end of belt. Delay not ready. Once you may not be able to give clearance if predecessor requests it. If you have belts that have a buffer function, the minimal buffering time can be used. Holstein rate is not used. Inverted is if the running direction needs to be reversed. If you do this, you have to turn off the Vectura cabinet and turn it back on. Belt in transfer. All right, so now belt in is for your SPUs. So all of your SPUs that are taking the items from the stacker and then depositing onto the Vectura belts. So keep in mind, you have to have the correct belt ID, which conveyor is this SPU attached to. So conveyor 1, SPU 1, or sometimes, depending on the machine, you can have multiple SPUs attached to one conveyor. Look at your overlay in the Vectura schematic and you'll see SPU1, SPU3, 2, 3, 4, however many you have. The interface ID is the number. So SPU1 is interface ID 1. So if you're wanting to make sure that you are adjusting correctly for the SPU, make sure you have the correct belt ID and the correct interface ID, correct SPU ID. Starting with leading edge, this value specifies the length of distance from the beginning of the belt and the distance specified in belt running direction, first edge and end feed point. So to get your leading edge, you're going to go from the beginning of your conveyor belt to the first point of the SPU deposit. Then you'll have trailing edge, which is going from the beginning of the belt to the end of the SPU deposit. So you're looking at the SPU, you're say the beginning of the belt is towards the left of the SPU. You go from the beginning of the belt to the left side of the SPU, that's your leading edge, and go from the beginning to the right side of the SPU, that's your trailing edge. What this does is it lets the system know that within this distance, in between 1000 millimeters and 1670 millimeters, an SPU is right there. So that way traffic control can work properly. Other important parameters on these, those two are the most important. If this is not set correctly, then you can run into whenever the SPU tries to deposit, it can push off stacks or deposit onto another stack, causing collisions. And on the important one here, second page, important offset free space and largest free space reserved for the in feed point for conveying by the parameterized value, in addition to width of the in feed point and the maximum stack distance. Main two important ones, leading edge, trailing edge. Belt out transfer parameter. So belt out transfer parameter, these are for your pushers, or taking them out to your pack out stations, or taking it from one section of conveyors over to another. Again, you have belt ID, which conveyor is this pusher attached to, and interface ID. If there's more than one pusher on this conveyor, you have to make sure you are selected to the right one. Again, it'll be in your overview on your Vectura schematic. Importance for this one, position defines position at which stack can be transferred to the second module. Typically, the measurements are taken from the beginning of the belt to the middle of the discharge point, so the middle of the pusher. Target type determines vector module type to which the belt is coupled. Target module determines module index and target interface. So if the pusher is pushing onto another conveyor, you're gonna have to do target type, make it set to 1 if it's going, and then you'll need the module, what the number is for that conveyor, and the interface, the index, the ID. If it's going to just pack out the blue roller conveyors, then you don't need to put anything in here. SPU parameters. So this is for configuring of the SPUs. So again, at the top, SPU ID, make sure you have the correct ID selected, so you're making the correct changes. Deposit type determines in which position the stack is placed on the following belt, either centered or rear at the belt edge or front at the belt edge. Offset stopping point moves the placement point of the SPUs. So if you need to adjust where the SPU is putting the stack, whether you want to adjust it more center or more outside, farther to the right, or more inside to the left, you adjust offset stopping point. And target type on what kind of module this SPU is being connected to. Same with target module and target interface. Got to make sure those are set correct, so the SPU knows that it's going to this. And e-stop circuit, which e-stop safety string, Vectura safety string is this attached to. Roller tracks, if you have them. Important ones on this, target ID determines target ID. The name of the target influences sorting of the system. And default target allows removing misrouted stacks in its destination. Storage conveyor, if you have them. Count middle belts determines the number of belts that make up a storage line. Belt width, how wide they are. The length for takeover, length of belts at the beginning of the storage line, transfer from the upstream. Then belt length for all of the belts, extra belts in the storage system, if you have it. And then target type, target module, target interface. Then power link address takeover, power link address of the takeover belt. Pilot disposal, pilot address the disposal belt, and then all the middle belts, if applicable. And again, same, there's that storage ID at the top. Make sure you're on the right storage ID. Thank you for listening.